Welcome to the Motormouth YouTube channel. I'm Zach.
I'm Andrea.
And we do full-length car reviews every week, and halfway through we stop for a segment called Questions, Coffee, and Cars, and we've spun it off into a standalone segment. How do you play along?
Well, you follow along at Motormouth_Andrea. Every Sunday I put out a post with us sitting here in this car, and you get your questions. It only stays up for a short time. We get so many questions once we have them for the show. That's it. It's deleted.
Time now for Questions, Coffee, and Cars.
Your questions from Instagram.
Looking to buy, lease a Stelvio. I want something that's a bit uncommon. So the standard Audi, BMW, Mercedes don't appeal to me. What do you think of the Stelvio? What else can I get that's similar?
Well, I think the closest competitor for performance and handling would be the Porsche Macan, but the Stelvio is sharper. Can I tell a quick story about this?
Sure.
Yeah, we were on a Porsche event in Europe driving the new Taycan, and we had all the engineers there from Porsche, which is a great thing. And I was talking, and I said, what did you do before this? He said, I worked on Macan, the engineer. And I said, well, I really like the Stelvio. He said, the Stelvio's sharp to drive.
Yeah.
And he said, our goal with Macan was to have a broad spectrum, so more comfortable in the city and sharper when you want it to be. But the Stelvio is sharper. The steering and the handling, definitely, all the time.
Yeah, and I think that you're right. It is uncommon. You don't see many Stelvios or even Giulias, for that matter, on the road. In Vancouver, we see a lot of Porsches. So there are a lot of Macans, X3s, GLC, Q5s, for sure. So I really think that the Stelvio is a great option. I like it a lot. You don't have to get the Quadrifoglio, which is a little bit more intense.
Yeah, that is intense. The other thing is, now, a lot of people are concerned about reliability, but in the last initial quality, now keep in mind this is initial quality, Stelvio, sorry, not Stelvio, Alfa Romeo was at the very top of the study.
Yeah,
Surprising. Surprising, right?
Yeah.
So maybe they're putting more attention to quality and it's paying off.
Well, I also think the Giulia and the Stelvio have been out for a while. So when vehicles have been out and they haven't changed them, they become more reliable because they tweak it along the way and fix, things that aren't so great about them.
But once you drive it, you'll get it.
You'll be addicted. You'll be addicted. Why is the Tesla Model Y the best-selling EV this year and the previous year? Well, interestingly enough, Q1 of 2023 was the best-selling car, which is the first time for an EV. Now, keep in mind, it's just Q1.
Yeah, somebody put that. Somebody who owns a Tesla put it on Facebook, and I said, "Yeah, 1 quarter does not make a year." I think obviously because Tesla dropped the prices at the end of, I think it was the end of last year. So of course Q1 exploded, and then they had availability. They had product to sell, but other brands had struggled. The best-selling car worldwide is what, Andrea?
Toyota Corolla.
Yeah, and so for them to top it all, the Toyota Corolla would need to be over, I think, 1.2 million units of that one car, which I don't think is going to be easy to do.
And in Q1, the Toyota Corolla sales dropped a bit. I think that has a lot to do with Toyota inventory, in my opinion. But because of the price drop of the Model Y and the Model 3, it's become more accessible for people. And I think that many are looking at, for example, non-luxury brands. And once they add up packages of EVs, they're saying, gosh, the Model 3 is a really good buy, as is the Model Y right now. Hi, I love your reviews, especially your Q&A. Thank you. It really sets you apart. See, how nice is that,
We're always together. She can't get rid of me.
24/7.
24/7 we're together.
Even when I say I'm going for a walk, Zach's like, can I come? Of
It's
course
interesting
you can.
because when we fly, we both like the aisle.
We
so
do.
often we're not sitting together. Andrea might be on that side of the aisle. I'm on this side of the aisle, or she's 2 seats up. And people are like, we booked your tickets, but you're not sitting together. It's like, I think we can spend a few hours apart.
And even the person I'm sitting beside, because I'm still talking to Zach, like if I'm up in the aisle,
And Andrea goes to the bathroom a lot.
She'll say, I go to the bathroom. I like to stay hydrated.
Andrea's
on a
got
plane.
her big thing of water.
Yes. So they'll say to me, oh, gosh, do you want to sit? Is that your husband? Yes. Oh, do you want to sit with him? No, that's okay. But we just like the aisle.
I'll see him for the next 22 hours.
For sure. Okay, here we go. I'm looking for a luxury or near luxury compact SUV. or wagon. 55,000 US, quiet, comfortable with a satisfying drivetrain are all important. Good gas mileage and a lower entry height are pluses. The Genesis GV70 looks good, or maybe the Audi A4 Allroad, although I think it's a bit dated now.
Oh, I love that car.
Me too.
I think it's so cool.
And it's priced well too.
Yeah.
I think it's, if I'm not mistaken, it's 48,000 in the US. I think I wrote this down.
You know what? The all-road is so unique.
46.9
Yeah.
US it starts at.
Yeah, but you've got to throw in a package or two to get it exactly the way you
do.
want. But you know what? It's a very good car. I like the fact that it's a wagon. You just can't get wagons anymore.
No.
And even, like a Mercedes has dropped the C-Class, BMW's dropped the 3 wagon, and so Audi's kind of it.
Audi's kind of it. And like we said, there's good value with Audis. Now, if you're interested, I think you said an EV or...
but you said the GV70.
Yeah, the GV70, and then I think you said you would even consider an EV. I didn't read it all, but the Cadillac Lyriq starts at $58,500 in the US. Other Cadillacs like the XT5 or XT6 are also in your budget, and they're very comfortable,
Yeah,
although
comfortable.
kind of dated now, I would say. And then how about the Lincoln Corsair?
Yeah, I think you're wanting something a little bit lower to the ground. I don't know. Listen, I'm just going to say what I like. I would get the Audi. I know it's a little dated, but you know what? Trust me, when they update it, it won't look much different. That's the thing about Audis and Volkswagens and a lot of German brands. It's like Mercedes-Benz. We just drove the new GLC. I can't tell if it's the old one or the new one.
It looks like it's the lights in the back.
Yeah,
and
maybe.
you're like, what?
That's about it. So yes, I think the only bugaboo with the A4 is that it has the older infotainment system. But you know what?
Still a great model.
Here's what I predict, Andrea. Audi's going to bring out a new A4. You know what I think is going to get the axe?
What?
The wagons. I think they'll probably
So
go.
sad though,
So you
because
might-
people still want wagons.
So you might only have a chance to get it. You could play a little bit of it. You could do a sort of a short two-year lease.
Yes.
And then buy out the remainder of the lease if you wanted to do that. And then if they bring out a new all-road, you could flip into that.
And you know the GV70 is here.
Yeah,
it's not going anywhere.
It will be
you can
updated, though.
always, it'll be updated, but you can also get that. That's the thing about the Koreans. My goodness, they do a refresh and it's like a whole new vehicle.
Yeah.
You're like, what?
Yeah, they wait 2 minutes and they'll bring out something new.
Well, somebody was complaining this morning. We have the Subaru Ascent, and they were like, gosh, like Subaru doesn't really do anything with their exterior design. They keep it the same for a long time, which is true, but they also know their customers. Their customers like this look, so they don't change things up very often.
Yeah, they like
And
frumpy.
then-
They like frumpy.
They like frumpy. Like they're adventurous or they're outdoorsy or whatever it is. Toyota's the same. You don't see huge changes to it, but the Koreans are different. Hi to the best reviewers. Oh,
Nice.
love it.
I see Andrea cherry picks all the nice comments.
No. Every single person always starts with that.
That's very nice of you.
I know. They're just the best.
I have to send a lot of checks out now.
Yes, I think so. Which one is your pick for long-term ownership, comfort, and fun to drive? RDX, NX350, or GLC 300? Mostly a couple plus a dog.
What was the last one?
So you've got
the
RDX, NX350, or GLC 300.
So the comfort and fun to drive. You know what? The GLC is a great all-rounder. It really is. I think the RDX is that's a pretty nice car. I mean, they're all good. So what I would do is drive them all, and then you decide which one you like. There's no wrong answer in there.
I think for fun to drive, it's going to be the RDX. That's my opinion, but it's bigger than all of them. You've got a flat floor in the rear. You've got more cargo space. So I don't know if you need something that big, but it might be good for the dog if you have a larger dog. The NX350, I wouldn't say it's fun, but comfortable. And the GLC, the new GLC, for me, I find that the suspension is softer than
it's a
than
good
the old
all-rounder,
one, but it's good.
It might be softer, but it still handles well.
It does.
Like people get confused thinking that, okay, it's got to have a firm suspension to handle well. That's not true.
No.
Because if the chassis is really well engineered, you can have a softer suspension and still have incredible handling. So I think Yeah, the GLC is a good all-rounder.
And boy, it was so quiet,
Yeah, it's a
wasn't
great car.
it?
They do a good job.
Oh man, that new one is really good. Do you think MG should consider entering the US-Canada market with electric cars?
So what we have in Europe is a totally different phenomenon than's happening in North America because the Chinese EV makers are importing cars to Europe and they are selling incredibly well. They're undercutting, like if you think of a brand like Volkswagen with their ID3, they're
Yes.
struggling with some sales of that because you've got import brands from China like MG. By the way, MG is a British company that is now owned by a Chinese brand.
Yeah.
And they've got a great electric car that's come into Europe and is selling incredibly well.
And it looks good.
And it looks really good.
Yeah.
We haven't driven it, of course, because it's in Europe. We were at an event at Mustang recently, and there was a journalist from Israel was telling us about it, and he was going on about how good it is.
Yeah, and I think that MG cars are different. They are, typically have a cool exterior design. The rumor is they're coming back to North America. When? Who knows? I also read that they're trying to up their vehicles, like different vehicles, not just EVs, in other markets before they come to North America.
Yeah, I think it's going to happen. I think that eventually there will be a breakthrough of one Chinese brand into North America. And when they do, the legacy car brands are not going to be able to compete on price. So what does that suggest? A setup for maybe major tariffs. So protectionism of the North American market led by the United States. They've already brought in the Inflation Reduction Act to put a wall up for batteries. They have a new executive order they just passed around technology sharing for companies, making sure the Chinese don't get anything that could be used in the military. So I would say, I bet you that there's going to be a Great Wall of China, but it's going to be in the U.S.
And when you see Polestar, their vehicles are made in China. The price does reflect it here. They're actually priced quite well, and they've made sure that they qualify for the federal EV rebate of $5,000 in Canada, which really helps people get into electrified vehicles, although still very expensive. Excellent show, excellent couple.
Nice.
We should just do questions, coffee, and cars just to get all these compliments. Do you happen to know anything about GM two-way charging technology that is going to make EVs as a big power supply for houses, even for a couple of days? So GM calls this bilateral charging. They plan to have this be standard on their EVs by 2026, starting with the Silverado EV. I think it's a good idea.
So how this works is one of the first brands to do this was Mitsubishi years ago. They have a system where you can actually use the battery in the car to help charge your home. So think about a huge, what's the battery? It's like over 200 kilowatt hour battery
it was crazy
in the
amount.
Silverado and then the Hummer. So massive. So think about you're maybe getting power off the grid at night when it's cheap, right? And you have this big ass battery in this big ass truck. And then when there's extra load during the day, you could sell some of that energy back to the grid and maybe turn a profit. But the problem I have is if you're selling energy out of your battery in your car, then you get in your car and it doesn't have as much charge. What's the upside to that?
Well, I think that it's a compromise, right? You know exactly what you do each day. So you can have the vehicle charged up and then say you only do half, or say it takes you 3 or 4 days to use half. I think it all will be different for different people.
But begs the question,
people are
Andrea.
going to like the idea that they can sell their energy back to the grid and make a few bucks. By the way, did you see gas prices here?
Yeah. Okay. Let me just, I forgot what I was going to say. I had a
Fortune.
fantastic point, Andrea, and
Did
I
you?
lost it. Yeah, it was really good. What was the point? But basically you said, but that begs the question. And if you have you don't need such a big ass battery then. If you're saying I can sell some back to the grid and still have enough to do my daily commute, why do you need a 200 plus kilowatt hour battery?
Because people are afraid.
Yeah, it's just not the best use of our resources.
No.
It isn't. And it's a bit of a party trick that your car can charge your house. It's convenient if you lived off the grid somewhere or you go to your cottage and you've driven up there and you need some extra power or something like that, or in a storm
Power outage.
And some areas of North America do get regular power outages, but that's what you have a generator for.
That's what you have a generator for. But this is just another option for people. It may work better for some
Gimmick.
than for others. Hi, Andrea and Zach. I really enjoy your content. Thank you. I was wondering if you could explain torque numbers. So when we go to all of these launches, manufacturers always say you buy horsepower, but you use torque. And I think a perfect example, yes, our diesel Cayenne's
That's why
loaded with torque.
We love torque.
But here's a good example. We drove the Buick Envista. And it has like 136 horsepower. And when I posted on Instagram, people were like, oh my God, what a joke, 136 horsepower. But it has 162 pound-feet of torque. And it's not a big vehicle. So what Zach and I found when we accelerated is, boy, that torque number was quite good for that vehicle.
So torque is measured as a twisting motion, right? So how much force to twist, and that's what you use to launch. And horsepower is the rate of change it. And it's usually the best way to describe it is torque is what you use at lower speeds, and horsepower is what you use at higher speeds. That's a very basic explanation and kind of how it's explained. So what you're using most of the time, and I remember reading articles when I was a kid in Road and Track and Car and Driver, and they talked about improved mid-range torque. And really that mid-range torque from like 1500 RPM to 3000 RPM is what you're using 90% of the time when you drive.
Mm-hmm. So
Love it.
torque is great.
Is good.
What you want is...
Excuse me. I'm all done.
Are you all done?
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, torque is great.
We love torque.
You guys are the best content
wait,
creators.
wait.
By the way, I think I have to stop reading this because it sounds like we're just tooting our own horn all the
Wait a
time.
sec.
But this is what...
Oh, the car's
You have
not
to turn
on.
the car on.
There we go.
Oh, by the way, we have the Prius hybrid this week, and
the horn is
somebody,
lame.
yeah, somebody. Zach was driving. I was in the car as well, and he gave a honk and to somebody who had cut him off, and it was just like, no,
That's wrong.
that wasn't good.
I
It wasn't powerful.
I like the dual horn. It has two. This car has two horns. One is a higher frequency and one is a lower frequency.
Yeah,
It's better.
good. It
Not-
sounds solid.
Not-
They're like, whoa, I'm out of their way. In a budget of around 40 to 45,000 for a subcompact SUV, good budget. Would you recommend going for a new VW Taos or Mazda CX-5 or Kia Seltos or a used 2020 or later Audi Q3 Progressive, Technic, or any other luxury subcompact SUV? Keeping in mind Apple CarPlay, blind spot monitoring are mandatory requirements, and good interiors are a must. Well, I think you're really asking a lot.
Okay,
No,
I just want to reference the Q3. Okay, I can't remember what year it was, whether it was 2019 or 2020. Anyway, the Q3 that has the 200 horsepower engine, that's the one you want to look for, is stay away from that one. That's the last generation Q3. So if you can get the newer Q3 with the 240 horsepower, roughly what it is, 228 maybe, that's the one you want.
228.
Yeah, that's the one you want.
So, as far as I understand, in 2019, Apple CarPlay came into play with the Q3, but it's not wireless. But it doesn't sound, I mean, if you're getting an older vehicle, most of them would be
Plug-in.
wired. VW Taos is great. I really like the dual clutch transmission in it. It's spacious. I think the interior is quite nice. It's modern. It's simple. VW uses more hard plastic, so you might get in it and go, ooh, I don't know.
But
You
it
know,
is-
But it's good.
But it's not the new generation of interiors. It's still kind of like the old Golf, and the current Jetta interior is still there with real buttons and switches, which is why I like that car. And it's actually in the subcompact class, but it definitely can pass for a compact.
And with your budget, you could get one fully loaded with all the features. It comes standard with wireless, Apple CarPlay, and Android Auto.
CX-5 is getting long in the tooth now. I think
But that's in the compact category. I was
Yeah.
going to mention that anyway.
But it's one of the smaller. So
It's one of the smaller. It has a firmer suspension and heavier steering. So you've really got to drive that and make sure that you like that kind of feel. The Kia Seltos, I think, is terrific. The new one, the interior looks very good. There's less hard plastic than the previous model, which Zach and I kind of said it was a bit plastic fantastic. But what I like about the Kia Seltos is it comes with some great features, including ventilated front seats and heated rear
and
seats.
power liftgate is also available in that and the Taos.
Yes, and for blind spot monitoring, It may not be standard on some of these, but
in a
certainly
package.
available.
But you've got enough budget. You got enough budget
For
to do
sure,
it.
you're going to get it.
Yeah, so the Q3, I think it was 2019 it came out, or 2020 with the larger engine. So that's maybe a place to shop too. But if you're going to buy one, make sure it's certified pre-owned and get the extra warranty on that car.
If you were choosing a car for your 16-year-old new driver, would you choose a Subaru Crosstrek or a used Honda HR-V? We get lots of snow, so all-wheel drive is a must.
Well, what's a must is good winter tires. So if you're driving in a lot of snow. Both of these are excellent choices. The Crosstrek's pretty hard to beat. The Crosstrek has the eyesight safety system, so you've got the dual problem of having a new driver driving in snow, plus you want to have the advanced safety features.
For sure.
So the Crosstrek will have the latest versus an older
HR-V. I like the look of the Crosstrek, and with the current model, Subaru didn't really change it that much. That's another one you'll be hard pressed to see is it any different, right, between the two. So you feel like you have a more current vehicle. Also, the ground clearance is great. 8.7 inches of ground clearance.
For snow, the all-wheel drive system, both cars have a CVT, so that's a push. All-wheel drive, higher ground clearance, you get a good set of winter tires. The Subaru's going to do the job. If you can spring for the larger 2.5 liter engine, that's the one you want.
Yeah.
The other thing, Andrea, 16-year-old doesn't want to be seen in an HR-V.
I don't think so.
You want to get the Crosstrek in a
With
fun
the cladding.
in a fun color.
Yeah.
Come on.
Absolutely. We bought our son a Honda Civic to learn how to drive on. Well, for both sons, but one of them is still not driving. Can you believe it? We are a car family.
And
one
he
of
hasn't
them
got
is
his
still
license.
not driving. I'm on him. Don't worry. Not sure if you can answer this, but here it goes. I'm thinking about buying winter tires and wheels earlier this year. I always go to a local shop, as do we. We do the same thing. This time, I see the online tire stores have way better prices. They mount them and ship them for free. Plus, they always have at least 10% off. I'm in Ontario. How reliable are these online dealers?
So I'm not sure which one you're referring to. The other thing is, this is what you should do. If you want to support your local tire store, go down there and see if they'll price match it.
That's a great idea.
Like, give them an opportunity to get your business.
They would love your business.
You know, the online tire places, listen, you can go and do a search. I'm not sure which one you're referencing, if it's Tire Rack in the United States or if it's a Canadian supplier. And there are some big ones in Canada, but they just are big tire warehouses and they ship you the wheels and tires. I'm sure if you do a search on whether they're trustworthy or not, that'll come back pretty quickly.
For sure.
So, yeah, if you really want to support the local guy, say, listen, here's the tires. Can you price match it? That's what I would do.
I don't think we would ever use a company like that. We like to do things
we're
local, right? We have a good relationship.
Well, we have a unique situation is that we have access to manufacturers to get tires, and we do pay for our tires. I mean, the Vredestein tires that we're trying out on this car were sent to us, and we have another pair from Toyo that we put on the Honda Civic. Yeah. But for my GTS and our new GTI, we've ordered tires and we're paying for them.
Yes.
So, but we have them installed at a local shop.
And these Vredestein tires that we have on the Cayenne right now, we really like them. That we're thinking we're going to sell our old tires and just keep these because they're that good.
So the one thing is that we drove to Whistler recently, and it's there's many sections of the road are like this, and I said to Andrea, man, these tires are good.
And
really
even
good.
To Seattle, right? We thought they're very comfortable.
It's getting long here. So is this our last one?
It always gets long, doesn't it?
Chat.
So many questions. We never get through them all. You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, so this is our last one.
Is it the last one?
Okay. And it's another, I just want to say, love your guys' channel. Thank you. What's the most memorable behind the scene thing that's happened to you guys when filming a video? So Zach and I were talking about this earlier because we chose your question. We were like, well, what really happens that's memorable when we're in town? And then Zach really came up with a good idea, actually. He says, well, what about when we're out of town and the access that we have to engineers and product planners about the vehicle
Designers.
that they're launching?
Yeah, so when we're shooting here at home, it's just a bit of a routine, right? We go, we have all the stuff that we typically do, but when we go on these events, you'll have the chief engineer of the car, like think about that, the guy that's in charge of the whole vehicle,
Yeah.
maybe the head designer, maybe the product planner for the US or Canada. One example, recently we were in Vienna with Mercedes-Benz, and I sat at dinner. I just happened to sit next to this guy. He's the head of exterior design for Mercedes-Benz. Think about that. He's the head of exterior design for Mercedes-Benz. So I had a few questions for him.
Well, that trip was really impressive because there were so many people there working on different things. And it was same with the Mustang event that we went on. And I would ask a question to somebody and then they'd say, actually, you know who you need to talk to? This person. He's in charge of this or she's in charge of that. And just having all these people accessible to us is incredible. And even when we were on the Toyota launch of the Corolla Cross Hybrid and we took it out for a spin and we had some questions about it, there they were, the product planner.
Chief engineer was there.
Chief engineer. I mean, you can just ask whatever you want. It's amazing to have these people.
So just think about this. If you're a car person, you're into cars, and you have access to the chief engineer of a car, like nobody gets that access.
No.
The head designer for a car, you just don't get to meet these people. So the fact that they have them available to us is the behind the scenes stuff that really is invaluable.
Yeah, it really is. And that's a wrap. Questions, Coffee and Cars, episode 25. Follow along at motormouth_Andrea to get your question in. I post every Sunday morning, and it only stays up for a short time. So once we have all your questions,
Get on it.
That's it. We take the post down.
All right, so we'll see you next week. Bye now.
Bye.